Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing great and having a great day. Thank you so much for joining me here on my video, and I hope that you'll enjoy and consider leaving a like and a subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Now today's video I think is very interesting and very helpful because everyone in their life has or will buy a car, and it's going to be basically how to properly buy a car. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks as well as a little bit of a guide on how to do it. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So first off, let's start off by figuring out where we can buy a car. You can either buy in a dealership or you can buy from a private party. So where can you buy it? There's websites like Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, OfferUp, Kijiji if you're in Canada. Those are really helpful, and on these websites there's dealerships and private parties. Now, next step would be to figure out what kind of car you want. So you need to know a little bit of what you want. You don't need to know everything, just a few things so that you can use the filters. It's a great way of narrowing your search, saving you time, and help you find whatever you're looking for. Now, once you know what you're looking for, it's important that you know how you're gonna pay for it. Personally, I suggest buying with cash because you're gonna save money by not paying any interest. You're also gonna save money on taxes, as well as you're gonna outright own the car and you won't owe anyone any money. So that's really good if you don't want to have payments. But if you do choose going the finance route, I would recommend financing for cars that are a bit more expensive. You'll figure out what you can save up. And yeah, financing can be good if you buy a car that's a bit more expensive. Now, usually dealerships have a high interest rate, so I do recommend taking out a loan instead from the bank. See if you can take out a loan, because usually the bank has lower interest rate. If you can't really, try to look for something that's less expensive when you finance, and try to finance it for maximum 4 years, because yes, the payments will be lower if you go longer, but the car loses value, so you're never gonna be able to even come close to breaking even. Now, there are exceptions to this rule. There's cars that hold their value extremely well, but most cars do lose their value. Also, dealerships usually charge more because they're trying to make a profit. Sometimes they do detail the car and make it look a bit prettier so they can have a higher amount. Now, once you figure that out, you can start looking, and whatever you choose, don't stop on the first one. Have a few cars that you look at and go look at them, get appointments if you need to, inspect them. If you have someone that knows a bit more about cars, bring them with you. They can help you inspect it if you don't want to pay money, because it can get a bit expensive if you inspect every car that you go look at. If you go look at 10 cars, it adds up and you end up paying a lot of money for inspections only. So I would recommend finding someone that knows a little bit about cars. They don't need to know everything about cars, but just the basics, so that you can be a little bit more at peace at night when you sleep, that you know that the car is probably in good shape. Obviously, you can always inspect the car. If you're really thinking of buying it, then I recommend inspecting it. But if not, you can inspect it after, and there's probably gonna be some things to fix if it's secondhand. There's always a little something. Now that you know where to buy, you know that you have to know a little bit what you're looking for, and you know how you're gonna buy it. Now you need to know how the process of looking at a car goes and what you need to do to make sure that you get the best possible value. So let's say you find a car and you like it on the pictures. You ask the person, Is it available? What are the problems with it? Then you schedule a meeting and you go look at it. You introduce yourself to the person, say how you're doing, etc. Just be polite. At the end of the day, they're just a person. They're trying to get rid of their car. Be friendly. It only helps you in this situation. Just go over the whole car. Make sure everything works, because everything that does not work is reason to negotiate, because it's less valuable when there's something that does not work. Just go through the whole car, go underneath the car, or try to look underneath with your phone or the phone light to make sure that it's not too rusty. If you live in a cold climate where they use salt, it's probably going to have rust underneath, but make sure that it's the good kind of rust. The good kind of rust is a rust that is surface and the metal is still solid, but there's surface rust, so it looks ugly, but in reality it's okay. It's not gonna break, or it's not gonna leave you stranded, or it's not dangerous. It's just cosmetic. And the bad kind of rust is the rust that you can poke a hole through the metal because it's rotted. So make sure that you don't see any holes in the where there should not be any holes. And yeah, now next you want to open the hood. Now, if you don't understand anything about cars, I do recommend for this part to have a friend that understands a little bit about cars. And when you pop the hood, the first thing you should see is an engine. If the engine's in the front, of course. And you should look around and see if there's any leaks. If there's any oily parts to the engine, if there's any water spots on the bottom of the engine, just look over, make sure that everything is spotless. Or if there is, then obviously you can negotiate because there's a leak and you can get it fixed. Now, depending on the leak, it can be expensive, so be careful. If there's leaks, I would recommend inspecting the car if you're planning on buying it, so that the mechanic can tell you what's wrong exactly. And then just look around, see if the fluid levels are good, if they're to the max or in the middle, preferably in the middle, not lower. If they're lower, there could be an issue. So make sure everything's good, and then go on a test drive, see how the car feels. And once you do all that, you come to the most fun part. So you come to the negotiating. Now, negotiating can be hard, especially if the person is a bit hard-headed. They don't want to lower the price. There's always people like that. But don't worry, if you find anything wrong with the car, you add all the things wrong and then you use them as bargaining chips. Always give a reason why you negotiate. Now, when you negotiate, be respectful. Listen to the person, don't cut them. Make sure that if they don't want to negotiate, don't waste too much of your time, because at one point there's no point of keep going. I recommend having a price, a budget that you're not gonna pass. So for example, the car costs $8,000. There's some stuff wrong, so you won't pay more than 7,000, let's say. So you start negotiating lower than that price so that you have room to 7,000, and just make sure that everything is good. Get a note that they sold you the car for this amount and this date. Make them sign. Doesn't need to be an official document, it can just be a piece of paper, but just make sure that you have written proof that they sold you the car on what date, how much, and you're good to go. You can go to register the car and so on and so forth. You pay the person. So that's basically the process of buying a car. I hope it was clear, and I hope I was able to give you some good advice and I wasn't going too fast. Now, some little red flags that you can encounter while purchasing a car. You can either encounter someone that does not have the title of the car. So that's a no-no. You should run without the title. You cannot register the car. If the person does not want you to look around the car and inspect it yourself, they're trying to hide something probably, so get away from them. Don't even waste your time. If the person is insulted by you wanting to negotiate, even though there's things wrong with the car, and you're trying to tell them that because of these things the car is not worth what they're asking, and they get insulted, like, don't even bother. The person's not gonna negotiate. You're just gonna end up fighting with them. So just go away, find a new car. That's it. That's all. There's plenty of things people try to do while you buy the car to get more money for the car. So just be careful. Don't let them fool you. Just make sure that everything's alright with the car. Everything runs great. That's pretty much it from what I can tell you. So now let's jump into the computer and I'll show you how to properly search for a car on websites. And if you've never done it, you'll be able to see how it's done. And just so you have a better idea of what I'm talking about, it's easier for visual learners to see it. And I'll be commenting while I'm doing things so that you know what I'm doing. So yeah, I'll see you in a bit. So here we are, guys, doing the search on the computer. Now I'm on Kijiji Auto. It's a website for people that live in Canada. Basically, it's a website only with cars that you can look and buy. And now we're going to make a quick search and see what we can find. So first, we need to know what we are looking for. In this case, we'll be looking for a Subaru Impreza WRX STI. Now, I know my car and the brand I want to buy, so it's a bit different if you don't know what brand you want and you want a car. If you want a black car, a white car, manual, automatic, things like that. So let's say I don't know the brand and I just know the color I want. So we'll go to more filters. So we have the most amount of filters and we scroll down. I don't care about the year personally. Price, let's say my budget is $20,000. So let's put $20,000. And now I want a manual. So that's going to narrow the search for us. And then let's go to, I don't care about the kilometers. If you have a specific kilometers that you don't want to pass, or mileage, I guess, just write it in and you'll be good. And I know it's a sedan. It's the body type, as you can see. It's also a sports coupe, it could be, and it could be also a hatchback. So let's narrow it down. It's used. I don't really want it to be in a dealership. Gas powered, and I know it's all-wheel drive, but some people put all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, so let's put both. And private seller, as I said. And the color, not too picky with it. Cylinders, engine size, they're all the same from the car I'm looking for. 2 doors or 4 doors, let's leave it like that. And let's click. I have 94 results. We went from 20 some thousand results to 94,000. So let's click here for the search and let's see what we get. It's loading. So here we have a few different brands. It's not the car that I mentioned previously, but I could put the make since I know the make, and it's going to narrow it down. I know it's in the bottom because it's S, Subaru. So let's click on apply, and now it's going to show me only Subarus. So here we are, as you see, WRX, WRX. So I was able to find it without putting the model name. And here we can scroll through, see which one is in the budget, and see which one I like the look of on the pictures. So let's go to this one. Has 55,000 kilometers. It looks to be clean and well taken care of from the pictures. As you can see, the pictures look nice. There doesn't seem to be any issues. I think there's a rust spot here. Yes, there is. So that's a little thing I can use to bargain. That it has rust even here where my mouse is currently. The bumper looks a bit different shade from the quarter panel here. Maybe it's just the lighting, maybe it's repainted. It's hard to tell on pictures, so I'll have to pay attention if I go look at the car. On the back, everything looks good. You can always zoom into the picture. The pictures are really good quality, so that's really good. And as you can see, everything looks good. I don't see any leaks. There's a few aftermarket bits like this and this and this, but for the most part it's okay. I haven't looked at the description yet. I'm just looking at the pictures first. Inside looks good. No rips in the seat. There's this thing. It's called a Cobb access port. It tunes your car, so it's been tuned. And as you can see, pictures can tell you a lot about the car without even looking at the description, but let's go and look. So here we can see that there's mods done to it, a lot of them. It doesn't seem like there's too much, but it makes 300 horsepower, so usually they make a bit less, I believe. Well, torqued before, yeah. And what has done in maintenance, so there's the timing belt, which is really good because timing belts are really important. You need to make sure that they've been done, because if they snap, the engine locks up and you can buy a new engine, and that costs a lot of money. So there's been the brakes are done about 10,000, 13, 14,000 kilometers, which depends how the car is driven. Oil changes have been done, and the one has been done recently. It's been coated so it doesn't rust, but as you saw, there's a little bit of rust. And yeah, basically that's it. So if you're interested in the car now, let's say this is the car you want, you send a message, see if, and I would recommend personalizing the message, but you send the message to see if the person is if the car is still available. Once you figure out if it's available, ask if there's anything to be done repair wise. If they say no, you say perfect, when can we meet? And then you figure out when you can meet, and you go look at the car, inspect it. Just do the steps we talked about in the beginning of the video, and you'll be good to go. This is the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in my next video. I hope that you learned a thing or two and I was able to help you out if you're in the search for a car, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.